Jenna Lowe is 'n 19-jarige meisie wat gediagnoseer is met 'n lewensgevaarlike siekte. En om haar 21ste verjaarsdag te haal, benodig sy 'n nuwe long. Jenna se Get Me to 21 veldtog het reeds talle Suid-Afrikaners aangegryp en ons kameraspan het met haar gaan gesels.
The Get Me to 21 campaign is something that I started just about a month ago, actually, and it's been amazingly successful so far, but its purpose is basically to raise the amount of organ donors in South Africa and raise awareness for organ donation. So it's centered around an invite to my 21st birthday party. And basically, anyone who's an organ donor and who signs up on our website is invited to that event.
I first realized that there was something wrong when Jen was 16 and she started to breathe more deeply, and in fact, as a family, we started teasing her and saying, "You sound like Darth Vader, what's going on?" But it never went away. And so I took her to the GP, then I took her to the physician, and it's a very long story, but it took 15 months to get a proper diagnosis. Initially, she was misdiagnosed with asthma, and people have said to me, "Aren't you angry with the doctors?" But actually, it does masquerade as asthma. It's a difficult disease to diagnose. But I do think that if doctors were more aware of it, I'm absolutely convinced that there are a hell of a lot more patients in South Africa with pulmonary arterial hypertension than we know of.
So my condition is called primary pulmonary arterial hypertension. What happens is that the blood vessels in my lungs constrict and they tighten, and so that causes a traffic jam, if you will, of blood in my lungs. So obviously that makes it much harder for the heart to pump blood through there, and so that's the first problem, is it puts strain on the heart. And then the second problem is obviously, as you can imagine, if everything here is all blocked, it's really hard to absorb oxygen. So it leads to me being tired and breathless all of the time.
So when we were first told about the diagnosis, and Stuart and I started doing reading, and it came as a hell of a shock to realize that the prognosis for pulmonary arterial hypertension is not great. Most people live for 2.5 to 5 years. So Get Me to 21 is really about organ donation. It's been a hectic journey as a family to get the medication she needs, to raise awareness for this very rare illness. And then the last resort was always going to be, and hopefully it was going to be many years later, but it was always going to be the need for a transplant, a double lung transplant. And so when we eventually got to that point, it came as quite a shock to realize that actually the state of organ donation in South Africa is in a dire state.
Dis maklik om te sê ons het 4300 mense op die waglys wat wag vir organe. Maar om te verstaan wat daai syfer beteken, is iets wat Jenna doen en ons mee help om te sê dat soos elke persoon wat 'n orgaan kry, is 'n amazing wonderwerk wat gebeur. Orgaanskenking red mense se lewens, maar dit bring kwaliteit na hulle lewens. Dit is nie net nog 'n behandeling nie. Dit is 'n merkwaardige geskenk wat jy vir iemand gee.
Hopefully this transplant will give me a second chance at everything, because for the last couple of years, one thing I've struggled with the most is not being allowed to have dreams, because I think everyone focuses on the future quite a lot to get you through things. And then you hear that you might get a transplant. And I don't think this is something that I think this is something that anyone who might be getting a transplant feels. Is it opens up all these possibilities again, and you can dream. And then I'll get to do normal things like go back to varsity. I want to study philosophy and psychology, and also just all the small things that I've been missing.
Jen's always been unique. She started talking at a ridiculously young age, had a practically full vocabulary at the age of 18 months, and she's extremely good company, and has always had a will to help others. When everybody else said, "I want to be a fireman," she said, "I want to affect social change." And that's what she wanted to do.
If you go to getme21.com and sign up as an organ donor, not only will you help me reach my 21st, but you could help over 4,300 other South Africans in need of organs. Plus, you get to join me and have what's possibly going to be the party of a lifetime.